The shadow on Maple Avenue. Ethan Walker walked alone through the deserted streets of his neighborhood, where the only light came from old street lamps struggling to cut through the thick fog. Something felt wrong in the air. There was a pressure in his chest he could not explain, a silent weight that seemed to grow heavier with every step. The shadows around him looked as if they were moving. Every time he turned his head, there was nothing there. Still, Ethan was certain something or someone was following him. The silence of the night was broken only by the echo of his footsteps against the wet sidewalk. He picked up his pace, trying to convince himself it was all in his imagination. But the farther he walked, the stronger the feeling became. The houses along Maple Avenue were dark and sealed shut, their windows covered by curtains and blinds, yet Ethan felt unseen eyes watching him from behind the glass. Farther down the street through the fog, he spotted Hawthorne Park, an abandoned playground that most people in town avoided after sunset. The old swings creaked in the wind. The metal slide was rusted. The broken monkey bars stood like black bones against the mist. People used to say nobody should go near that park at night. Ethan decided to cross the street and take another way home, but then a blast of icy wind hit him, followed by a whisper so faint he could barely tell if it was real. He stopped cold, without understanding why. His feet began moving toward the park. Each step felt guided by something outside of him, something stronger than fear, something that had taken hold before he even knew it was there. As he approached, the shadows around the swings stretched across the ground in unnatural shapes, longer than they should have been, shifting as if they were alive. Memories from his childhood rose in his mind, afternoons spent running through that same park. His mother calling him home before dark, the smell of wet grass after summer rain. Then those memories twisted into something colder. When Ethan reached the playground, he saw something that froze him in place. On one of the swings sat a blurry figure, rocking slowly back and forth with the wind. He could not make out its face, but he knew it was looking at him. Ethan tried to step back, but his legs would not move. The cold around him deepened, crawling through his clothes and settling into his bones. Then a soft laugh began to fill the air, barely louder than a breath, but close enough to feel. The figure rose slowly from the swing. Then it started walking toward him. Each step echoed through the dead quiet of the park like a heartbeat. Ethan tried to scream, but no sound came out. His eyes stayed locked on the shadow as it moved closer. Around him, the night seemed to grow darker, as if the light itself were being swallowed by the figure. When the shadow stopped only a few feet away, Ethan heard its breathing. Uneven, broken, almost human but not quite. The air thickened around him. Breathing became harder. The figure lifted one arm, and in that moment, something appeared in the darkness. A smile. Twisted, wide, wrong. It did not look human. It stretched too far across the face, as if the skin had been pulled into a shape it was never meant to hold. 2. Ethan shut his eyes, hoping that when he opened them, everything would be gone. But the laughter grew louder, sharper. It cut through the silence like a needle. Then he felt an ice-cold hand on his shoulder. Ethan opened his eyes. No one was there. The park was empty. The swings were still. The shadows no longer moved. But the feeling in his chest remained. Something terrible had happened there, or maybe something terrible had just chosen him. He turned and ran. He did not look back. The streetlights flickered above him as though the darkness were trying to swallow them. As he ran down Maple Avenue, whispers surrounded him from every direction. Distant voices, low voices, words he could not understand. Each one seemed to rise from somewhere deep and ancient, from a place that did not belong to this world. Ethan could feel the shadow behind him. He could not see it, but it was there, watching, waiting, getting closer. At last, he reached the entrance of his apartment building. His hands shook as he fumbled for the keys. They slipped from his fingers and hit the wet pavement. The voices grew louder. Then, from the corner of the street, Ethan saw a dark figure emerge from the fog. It moved toward him with impossible speed. His heart slammed against his ribs. He grabbed the keys, forced them into the lock, opened the door and threw himself inside the building. He slammed the door shut behind him and leaned against it, gasping for air. But he knew he was not safe. Something had come back with him. The cold in his chest would not fade. The echo of that laugh still rang inside his head. Ethan rushed up the stairs without stopping until he reached his apartment. He locked the door, checked every window and turned on every light he could find. He stood there in the middle of the room, breathing hard, listening. Nothing. Only silence. Too much silence. He walked into the bathroom and splashed water on his face, trying to force himself back into reality. His hands trembled against the sink. Slowly, he lifted his eyes to the mirror, and his blood went cold. In the reflection, standing directly behind him, the shadow was there. Smiling. Ethan screamed, but the sound died in his throat. The figure in the mirror did not move. Its smile only grew wider, bending its face into an impossible shape. Ethan stumbled backward away from the sink. When he spun around to run, the bathroom was empty. That night, Ethan never left his apartment again. The next morning, after neighbors called the police, they found him on the bathroom floor with terror frozen across his face, and an unnatural smile drawn across his lips.